Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, possibly the biggest rap album of the year has just dropped, and I got the review right here for you. Welcome to Ray Runner Does Music, where today we're taking a look at the sophomore album from Post Malone called Beerbongs and Bentleys. You've probably heard of Post Malone either through his wild social media antics or, of course, throughout his actual songs, those being among his bigger hits I Fall Apart and Rockstar. Really, if you listen to any mainstream form of music, whether it be pop, rap, or anything else, at some point Post Malone does find himself within the conversation. No matter what aspect of music you're talking about, he's brought up to some certain point, whether it's be his interest in metal acts such as Infinite Annihilator or other situations. For the last year, I've really been trying to expand my music taste from more just beyond the pop punk and post-hardcore into avenues like K-pop, rap. I tried so hard to find good country, but I've only found one artist, and even that's kinda iffy. But for me, a couple rappers did stand out, including Post Malone, such as 21 Savage, Lil Peep, some of Triple X Tentacion stuff. Temptation, who knows, but rap for me was always really weird, because while there were very good up-and-comers, such as Wiccaphase Springs Eternal, and there were some good classics in there, such as some older Chance the Rapper stuff, some artists nowadays, such as, what was his name, Lil Yachty, and others, are just, I can't get into them as much as I try to. Even when it first came to Post Malone with his album Stoney, I tried listening to it, and while I did know I Fall Apart earlier, that is a song that I very much enjoy from him. But beyond that, the debut album was just very, I get not really underwhelming, but just something I couldn't really identify with and find myself listening to over and over. There was not really, it's not that there wasn't substance at all, it's just that I didn't really, I suppose, enjoy the content that was there. Looking back, I appreciate it more for being sort of the precursor to what we have now, especially, and just sort of his career in general, but at the same time, I wouldn't go back to it and think this is quintessential for my listening. I can really say that going into Beerbongs and Bentleys that, well, for one, I'm enjoying it much more, and definitely for sure, but also at the same time, I'd like to note that there's this common curse in the music scene called the sophomore slump, where the second album from a band is usually very underwhelming, and of course there are many examples where that is very much wrong, such as, just off the top of my head, the 1975 second album, I Like It When You Sleep, and others, of course, which I'm not going to list here because that's not the focus of this album. But Beerbongs and Bentleys very much is dispelling of that myth as well, because while I find it enjoyable personally, there's also more to enjoy on a level of musical quality, tendencies, and consistency. While I can't sit here and say that it's one of the best rap albums this side of the millennium, hands down, it starts off with a very interesting introduction track with Paranoid, where a lot of bands nowadays, when they think intro track, they literally mean an intro track to where it's an instrumental or something announcing the artist. Like with Avatar's album, Avatar Country, while that was very much a concept album, they did very much introduce things with an intro and then keep it forward with interludes. And there is an interlude later on in this, but that interlude is also well. But I'm getting a little bit off topic here. The introduction track is well done and it has some solid verses that it doesn't try to go for cinematic as a lot of albums, especially within the rap genre, seem to try and do, try to establish this as something that's way bigger than it even should be. In fact, it seems almost grounded compared to a lot of the content actually here on the CD. It doesn't lose any steps whatsoever, and going into one of the songs later in the album, Taking Shots, it's a song that unfortunately does have a lot of the lower quality characteristics, such as relying on mannerisms like, the skirt, the grat, which really sounds weird out of context and kind of feel a little cringy pronouncing it as such, but it is laden in there, which it can be pretty iffy and all that, but I wouldn't say it necessarily damages the song itself. It's a track about really letting yourself get devolved into your own hedonism, which that sort of thing is explored many times throughout this album. You see a lot of points where it's not just a party song, but it's more so a song that's just like, fuck it, I know I'm screwed up. I'm just here to have a good time. I'm here to just let loose and just get into it, feel the party, become the party. It's like Andrew WK's party concept, except if it was done well. I can't believe I just made that comparison. Speaking more on party songs and songs of that nature, B&B has a lot of examples of that, but not just the quintessential song for Post Malone's party aspects, not just the quintessential song for this album. I feel like Post Malone's very core song to introduce somebody to if you wanted them to get into Post Malone is Rockstar. It's, without a doubt, his biggest song to date as a single, as, again, on the album. It's just Post Malone through and through. It comes right out the gate with the phrase, "I've been fucking hoes and popping pillies, man, I feel just like a rock star," which has just a very slight hint of something, I wouldn't call it dark, but maybe a little mysterious here, which you see a few elements of downtrodden and self-depreciating here and there throughout the song, which is explored later on, and I will get into that. But I do want to note that just overall, Rockstar does have the qualities that there's something more than just the, again, fucking hoes and popping pills. There's something laden throughout the lyrics that makes you have to go back more than once and think to yourself, wait, there's something more here. Those things are very subtle, and it's not just a party song full of glitz and glamour. Once again, it has those pieces of mystery to it, and when 21 Savage comes in, he absolutely takes the cake away. I've listened to a lot of 21 Savage's music. He's another rapper from the current scene who I can really get into. I really don't know what's going on with my hair. You guys saw that strand that came down. Sorry, I'm getting a little caught up here. But 21 Savage's part is really great. Again, he delivers some of the best bars from his career thus far in just one featured verse. And while there were, again, very subtle, dark elements here, I want to move into Over Now, which really takes all these elements into overdrive. It takes them a step further in one of the shining moments of the album for sure. Not only does it have a beat and rhythm that is as corny and white boy as this is going to sound, it made me completely get lost within the song and enjoy it to a point much further than I thought possible from an album, even with its constant grandstanding. The lyrics here, once again, are some of the strongest from Post Malone's career so far. I can't pick out any just certain part that really made me stop and think, wow, this is special. It's truly a song that I urge you heavily. Go listen to yourself and get the feeling, get the idea in your own head, because it's a song that you truly have to do that to fully appreciate. Not every single song on Beerbongs and Bentleys feels like it's good. Some of them are a little underwhelming. I wouldn't call them bad, but Psycho and Rich and Sad, they feel less important, less on par with the quality of the album. In fact, Psycho was just really taking bits and pieces of the bragging sprinkled here and there, blowing it up and just making it overweight and bloated with it, which unfortunately really does feel like a filler track, but there are 18 tracks total on this album, so I can't be mad whatsoever for a filler track. And again, it's not even bad, it's just that very much is a situation where you feel like you've heard this, like, literally just a couple seconds ago, not even a full minute ago. It's very, almost repetitive. Along with bragging and partying, another concept I saw explored very much so was the idea of looking on past relationships, or loves, or situations. That's something that gets explored rather fluently as the album goes through, and most of the time, in fact, I think all the time, except for when you're delving more into the party side of things, you get this idea that it was a very toxic situation, one that was very bad. A lot of people hate on artists for, just to coin a phrase here, turning pain into art, but I think it can be very beneficial both as a form of self-therapy and as producing good music, because looking, especially in my own personal music taste, when I listen to bands like Green Day, Fall Out Boy, Ocean's 8 Alaska, The Plotting You, those sorts of bands turn depressing situations into songs that feel phenomenal and just cinematic, and that's what Post Malone is doing very much here. And I know he's not fully into those types of bands, but I feel like he does take a bit of inspiration from musical ideas like that when he goes into the studio. Which, speaking of studio, every song here is produced magnificently, whether it's Posty lending some production skills or one of the many other artists and, well, producers coming in and doing the efforts. I feel like this is really an expertly done album that, like every album has time, love, and tons of money involved, but I feel like this is a rare occasion where that's just blown over in proportion, and there was just absolute thought and dedication put towards this album. Again, going back to some of the songs, some of them very much try to replicate other feelings that were explored earlier within the album, such as Over Now being a great example. Better Now, it does the trick, but it's not necessarily packing the same type of punch, though. But one song that comes very close, in fact, I think it hits the nail right on the head, is Stay, an acoustic centered song, excuse me, coming in around the middle. That isn't an interlude, but it serves the gap of one part of the album into the next very smoothly, almost effortlessly. I can sit here and touch on every single part of the album, every single song, but that would be really repeating a lot of words here because, like I said, there's a very definite line between what is absolutely beautiful and what is not bad, but just kind of okay and average. Beerbongs and Bentleys definitely has more of the former, though, to a point where I feel like this is an album that I've been talking a lot more in my album reviews as I go forward, things that are going to be remembered, things I'm going to come back to. Beerbongs and Bentleys is going to find itself, and some of the songs in general, on top of many of the lists that I put out towards the end of the year. Top songs, top albums, of course, those sort of things. And I'm really proud to say that Post Malone actually put out a fantastic piece of art here. And yes, music is art. So, while I'm not a rap connoisseur, I hope that I was able to relay my thoughts and ideas rather not, what's the word I'm looking for here? Rather fluently, excuse me. And with this, I'm going to cap off the review here, and I'm going to be giving Beerbongs and Bentleys. This review score might seem a little over-bloated, but I'm just going to still go with it. I'm going to be giving them a 9 out of 10 for this album here. But that is the album. Tell me, guys, what did you think of my review? Do you have anything that you agree with? Anything that you disagree with? Do you feel like smashing the actual beer bong over my skull for my impotence to the rap genre? Overall, just don't forget to like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe, share it, Instagram it, tweet it, tout it, and don't forget to stay safe, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.